I don't remember the exact moment I realized I was not beautiful, at least not in society's eyes, since my mother, grandmother, and next-door neighbors had told me I was for as long as I can remember. What a lovely girl, they'd say. Such beautiful long hair, they'd say. And I believed them. I believed them, and until a particular fall day back in 2017, I never really bothered to think about my appearance. Just like any other little kid, too fascinated with the world to care. But when I was 12 years old, a little thing happened. A boy in my new school, in my new class, in a different country I had just moved to, made a little offhanded comment. A comment about the hair on my arm that he was amused to notice was longer than his own. Back then, I thought it was just a joke and smiled. Thought I'd never even think about it, but weirdly enough, I could not stop thinking about it. I found myself going home and staring at myself in the mirror, wearing a long-sleeve jumper to school, even in the midst of Dubai's hottest summers. I asked my mother if I was old enough to shave just yet, and when she curiously asked why, I said that it was embarrassing, Mom, that I'm a girl and girls don't have hair on their arms. You know those moments in your life that are really so insignificant in the bigger picture, but feel like everything in that moment? Yeah. That one casual comment from a practical stranger years ago was one of those moments for me. It defined a lot of how I saw myself for the majority of my teenage years, which was, suffice it to say, not in a very flattering light. Beauty, and more specifically, the current standard of beauty in our world is a major part of our lives, from the moment we're born. These days, it has boiled down to an incredibly westernized and whitewashed version of itself that is impossible for people like me to meet. Girls and boys all over the world with different ethnicities and beautiful, diverse cultures of their own have always felt inferior in front of the idealized Western culture. Growing up, I have seen my friends, sisters, and cousins all struggling with their self-image and differences as compared to the seemingly perfect people they'd see on social media and elsewhere. I have personally struggled with it for years. There was a time in my life when I could recite the exact calorie count of every single food item I ate off the top of my head. I've never liked maths, but numbers were my best friends in those days. I adopted a strong workout regime taken from a White Health Coach's YouTube and almost killed myself every day trying to do 30 push-ups at age 14 on an exact 1,600 calorie diet. The lack of nutrition and excess exhaustion obviously took a toll on me, so much so I ended up in the hospital with a drip attached to my arm for a week. It took me a really long time to escape that phase and change my relationship with food. To eat with my heart and not look at my dinner plate as if it was a math equation. My confidence grew when I realized that this perception of the perfect body did not exist. With time, I was able to look in the mirror without cringing or trying to figure out where weight needed to be lost. I was incredibly lucky to have parents that cared so much and who helped me through it, but there are so many people who have it much, much worse. I know girls who hate the mirror so much they struggle to put morsels of food in their mouths. I know boys who spend 3 hours at the gym every day and still don't feel comfortable enough wearing clothes their own size. I know grown women who spend 2 hours every morning applying makeup on their faces as if it's armor. I know men that use self-depreciating jokes as a coping mechanism. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, one of the major symptoms of anorexia nervosa, which is the most critical eating disorder as of now, is self-esteem that is heavily influenced by perceptions of body size and shape in society. This is what the expectation of physical perfection is doing to us. Another aspect that these beauty standards have thoroughly corrupted is media representation. I'm sure most of us have watched Disney movies growing up, but one thing that you might not have noticed is a major parallel between the antagonist and protagonist: the difference in their body shapes. Snow White, young, white, and skinny, but the evil queen, old, hunched, and fat. Ariel, small-waisted and perfectly skinny, even though she doesn't even have legs. Ursula, though, is shown as large and curvy. Imagine watching these widely popular films as a little kid and comparing yourselves to the characters. What is a girl with Ursula's waist size supposed to think? That she's evil because of how she looks? What message is this sending the younger generation? A body is simply a vessel for all the true gifts inside, and we are all full of gifts. Youth and beauty fade. Human decency does not. We need to change the way beauty is viewed so that the generations after us can live in a world where it is not merely a superficial figment of societal expectations, but a real, tangible quality that lives in our souls. Imagine a world where being kind, honest, and good is enough to be considered beautiful. Where life partners, work partners, and even magazine icons are chosen not based on looks, but personality, on the real brilliance of humankind. This change in mindset is something I believe can be achieved through CAMP. C, celebrating people instead of perfection. When a child gets a 20/20 on a score, instead of praising that perfect score, praise him, his effort in getting there. Ask him which questions he found the hardest and how he managed to overcome them. Celebrate that. A, allow mistakes. Imperfection is at the core of being human, and there is no better way to learn, to improve, than making mistakes. And improving is all we can do, because we humans are all eternal work in progresses. Let's normalize it. M, meaning and effort. Effortlessness is a myth. Nobody would be anywhere if they didn't work for it, and trying to be effortlessly anything is futile. Whenever someone asks me how I managed to score this or get that or win this, I never hesitate to say that it's because I studied day and night, that I worked for months, that I gave it my absolute best, because what is there to be ashamed of? That it wasn't easy? That I'm human? Which brings me to my last point, P, pride. Not pride like ego or overconfidence, but simply love for ourselves, pride in our identities. We cannot possibly do that if we don't stop villainizing physical imperfections and idolizing perfection. Therefore, let us start small. Let us start by standing in front of mirrors and reciting positive affirmations, by recognizing our skills, our talent, our core values, and being proud of that instead of focusing on how we look. These 4 changes might look small, but together they create a bigger change for a better world. There are so many people out there these days that are defying these standards, being themselves. There are models and influencers who are embracing their acne, body types, skin colors, even makeup stereotypes. There are women in their 30s and 40s who have struggled with beauty their entire youth and are now embracing the natural aging process. There are men who are proudly flaunting their dad bods. These brave souls sticking it to society simply by expressing themselves on public platforms is exactly what this world needs more of. Let us take inspiration from them and be ourselves unapologetically. In my relatively short 17 years, I sometimes feel like I've seen so much that I should take off my glasses so I don't have to see anymore. And the fact that I have an entire lifetime ahead of me and I haven't even experienced real life yet terrifies me. That is why I'm here today, standing in front of you, sharing my story, asking you to acknowledge this thing that is eating your children alive. I am asking you to see and to find solutions. If we all work towards accepting each other and ourselves, if every single person is proud of being perfectly imperfect, then no human being will ever have to be ashamed of who they are. And doesn't that bring us just a little closer to changing the world? Thank you.